Theo was a young man who believed in one simple rule of life: work honestly, and success will follow. He was not loud, not arrogant, and never hungry for attention. Instead, he let his dedication speak for him. From a young age, Theo had learned discipline from his father, who used to say, "Respect is earned when your work speaks louder than your words." Theo carried that lesson into every part of his life. He worked in a medium-sized corporate office as a junior executive. It wasn't a dream job, but it was honest work, and Theo treated it like his own company. He arrived earlier than everyone else and often left after sunset. While others complained about deadlines, Theo quietly completed his tasks and even helped others without expecting anything in return. Theo was known in the office as the decent one. He never argued, never backbit anyone, and never tried to impress the manager unnecessarily. He believed that sincerity would be noticed one day. Among his colleagues was a woman named Clara. Clara was smart, confident, and very good at presenting herself. She knew how to talk, how to smile at the right people, and how to take advantage of opportunities. However, what she lacked was originality. Clara was observant. She watched others closely, especially Theo. During team meetings, Theo often came up with innovative ideas. Whether it was improving workflow, reducing costs, or attracting new clients, Theo's ideas were practical and effective. But he had one weakness: he spoke softly and without confidence. He would explain his ideas politely, sometimes even nervously, and once the meeting ended, he would return to his desk without pushing his point further. Clara noticed this pattern. One day, Theo stayed late to work on a proposal for a new client. He analyzed data, prepared charts, and wrote a detailed strategy. He shared the idea casually with Clara while discussing work near the coffee machine. He trusted her after all. She was his teammate. Clara listened carefully, nodding and asking questions. Theo felt happy, thinking she genuinely appreciated his ideas. The next morning, during the team meeting, something unexpected happened. The manager, Mr. Howard, walked in and asked if anyone had suggestions for improving client engagement. Before Theo could even open his mouth, Clara confidently stood up and presented the exact same idea. Theo had shared with her the night before word for word. Theo froze. He sat there, stunned, as Clara explained the strategy with confidence, adding a few fancy words and dramatic expressions. The manager looked impressed. Other colleagues nodded approvingly. When Clara finished, Mr. Howard smiled and said, "Excellent thinking, Clara. This is exactly the kind of initiative I expect from my team." Theo felt his chest tighten. He wanted to speak up. He wanted to say, "That was my idea," but his throat felt dry. His hands trembled slightly under the table. He looked around, hoping someone would notice his discomfort, but no one did. After the meeting, Clara walked past Theo's desk and smiled politely, as if nothing had happened. That was the first time Theo felt something unfamiliar: deep injustice. Over the next few weeks, the same thing happened again and again. Theo would work hard, come up with ideas, and unknowingly share them during casual conversations. Clara would present them confidently in meetings and receive praise. Worst of all, the manager never once acknowledged Theo's effort. In fact, he began to treat Clara as the most valuable employee on the team. One evening, Theo overheard Mr. Howard saying, "Clara has leadership potential. She's sharp and proactive." Those words hurt more than any insult. Theo went home that night with a heavy heart. He sat alone in his small room, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in his life, he questioned his beliefs. Is honesty really enough? Is hard work useless if you don't know how to show it? His silence, once his strength, now felt like his weakness. But deep inside Theo, something was changing. A quiet fire began to burn. He didn't want revenge driven by anger. He wanted justice. He wanted the truth to come out not by shouting, but by strategy. That night, Theo made a decision. He would no longer be naive. He would observe, plan, and act carefully. And when the time came, everyone would know who the real mind behind the success was. This was only the beginning. Theo changed. But no one noticed. From the outside, he was still the same quiet, respectful employee who greeted everyone politely and focused on his work. But inside, his mind had awakened. The pain of injustice had sharpened his awareness. He had learned a hard lesson. In a world full of clever people, innocence without strategy becomes a weakness. Theo stopped sharing his ideas casually. Instead, he began documenting everything. Every concept, every draft, every improvement he thought of. He saved them with timestamps, emails, and detailed notes. He created a private folder on his laptop, labeling each idea with dates and descriptions. He even started emailing himself summaries after completing important tasks. Knowing that digital trails spoke louder than words, Clara, meanwhile, grew more confident. She enjoyed the praise, the attention, and the manager's approval. Her posture changed. Her tone became bolder, and she started behaving as if she already owned the office. She no longer asked Theo questions. Instead, she waited for him to talk, and Theo did talk, but carefully. One afternoon, Clara casually approached his desk. "Hey Theo," she said sweetly, "any new ideas for the next client pitch?" Theo looked up slowly and smiled. "Just thinking," he replied. "Nothing solid yet." That answer surprised her. Earlier, Theo would have explained everything excitedly. Now, he stayed vague. Clara walked away, slightly confused but unconcerned. She didn't realize that the source of her success was quietly closing. At the same time, Theo started improving his communication skills. Every night, after returning home tired, he practiced speaking in front of a mirror. He watched presentations online, learned how to structure his thoughts, and trained himself to speak with confidence, not arrogance, but clarity. Weeks passed. A major opportunity arrived at the office. A high-profile project that could lead to promotions and bonuses. The manager announced that only one person would lead the project. Clara was confident it would be her. Theo felt the pressure too, but he stayed calm. Instead of rushing, he prepared a complete project proposal, far better than anything he had done before. He included research, risks, solutions, timelines, and innovative strategies. Most importantly, he sent the proposal directly to the manager by email, clearly signed with his name and date. This time, Clara didn't get the chance. The next day, Mr. Howard called Theo into his office. Theo's heart pounded as he walked in. "I read your proposal," the manager said, leaning back in his chair. "It's impressive." Theo nodded respectfully. "Thank you, sir." Mr. Howard paused. "I didn't realize you had this level of insight." Those words felt bittersweet. Theo wanted to say, "I always did," but he stayed silent. From that day, the manager began noticing Theo more. He asked him questions in meetings, requested his opinions, and occasionally assigned him important tasks. Clara noticed the change to. Her smile started fading. She watched Theo closely, not the same way she once did, but this time, she felt something new. Fear. One evening, Clara tried to confront Theo gently. "You've been quiet lately," she said. "Everything okay?" Theo looked at her calmly. "Just focusing on my responsibilities." His tone was polite but distant. That distance unsettled her. Behind the scenes, Theo was also collecting evidence, not to destroy Clara, but to protect himself. He saved old drafts, message logs, and timelines that showed his original work. He knew the truth didn't need shouting. It needed proof. Meanwhile, Clara made a mistake. Overconfidence blinded her. During a meeting with senior staff, she presented an idea she didn't fully understand. An idea Theo had once refined but never shared completely. When questioned deeply, she struggled to answer. Her confidence cracked. The room went silent. Theo watched quietly. That moment confirmed something important. Borrowed intelligence collapses under pressure. The manager noticed too. From that day onward, the office atmosphere changed. The invisible balance of power shifted. Theo wasn't seeking revenge out of anger anymore. He was allowing truth to surface naturally. But the real test was yet to come. A final presentation was approaching, one that would expose everything. And Theo knew this time he would not remain silent. The day of the final presentation arrived. The office buzzed with tension. Senior executives were visiting, and this single presentation would decide promotions, leadership roles, and future projects. Everyone knew the stakes were high, but no one felt the pressure more than Clara. She stood near the conference room, flipping through her slides again and again. Her hands trembled slightly. For the first time in months, she wasn't confident. Theo, on the other hand, was calm. He sat quietly at his desk, reviewing his notes, not because he was nervous, but because he was prepared. For weeks he had rehearsed every point, anticipated every question, and backed every idea with data and proof. This wasn't just a presentation for him. It was a moment of justice. The meeting began. Executives filled the room. Mr. Howard introduced the project and invited Clara to start. She walked to the screen with a practiced smile. But something was different. Her voice lacked firmness. She spoke well at first. The slides were polished, the structure neat. But when questions came, cracks began to appear. One executive leaned forward. "Can you explain how this risk mitigation strategy works in real conditions?" Clara hesitated. She tried to answer, but her words were shallow. Another executive asked a follow-up question. Then another. Her answers became slower. Her eyes searched the room, as if hoping someone would rescue her. That rescue never came. Finally, Mr. Howard turned toward Theo. "Theo, you worked closely on this project. What's your view?" The room went silent. Clara froze. Theo stood up. This was the moment he had imagined countless times, but not with anger. He spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently. He explained the concept step by step, answering every question with precision. He supported his points with examples, numbers, and logic. The executives nodded. One of them smiled. Another asked, "Did you design this framework?" Theo paused just for a second. "Yes," he said honestly. "I developed the core structure and submitted it earlier with supporting documents." He then did something powerful. He opened his laptop and, with permission, displayed email, timestamps, draft files, and version histories. Quiet, factual, undeniable proof of authorship. No accusations. No raised voice. Just truth. Clara's face drained of color. The room shifted. Mr. Howard's expression hardened. He looked at Clara not angrily, but with disappointment. "So you've been presenting ideas that weren't fully yours?" he asked. Clara tried to speak, but words failed her. The confidence she once wore like armor shattered in front of everyone. I had helped organize them, she muttered weakly. One executive responded calmly. Organizing is not the same as creating. That sentence landed like thunder. The presentation ended shortly after, but its impact stayed. Clara left the room quietly, eyes down, reputation damaged. The praise she once enjoyed vanished in a single hour. Theo sat back down, heart racing but not with fear, with relief. For the first time since the injustice began, he felt seen. Later that day, Mr. Howard called Theo into his office. I owe you an apology, the manager said, his voice sincere. I failed to recognize your contributions earlier. Theo nodded. I only wanted fairness, he replied. Mr. Howard leaned forward. You'll be leading the next phase of this project, and we'll be reviewing internal processes to ensure credit goes where it belongs. As Theo left the office, something inside him changed forever. This wasn't revenge fueled by hatred. This was self-respect reclaimed. Clara avoided him after that day. Her influence faded, her arrogance replaced by silence. She had learned a painful lesson that success built on theft cannot stand. But Theo knew the journey wasn't over yet. Final chapter remained, a lesson not just for the office but for life itself. Weeks passed after the presentation, and the office slowly returned to normal, but something had permanently changed. Theo was no longer invisible. He now led the project meetings. People listened when he spoke. Colleagues who once ignored him began asking for his opinion. His ideas were no longer taken, they were respected. But what surprised Theo most was not the recognition, it was the peace. For so long anger had lived inside him, quiet, heavy, exhausting, yet after the truth came out, that anger faded. Justice had done what revenge never could. Clara meanwhile struggled. She was not fired, but she was reassigned to a minor role. Her confidence collapsed. The admiration she once enjoyed disappeared, replaced by cautious glances and silent judgment. She avoided eye contact, avoided conversations, avoided responsibility. One afternoon, she approached Theo. Her voice was low. I was wrong, she said. I didn't think it would go this far. Theo looked at her not with satisfaction, not with pride, but with understanding. It always does, he replied calmly, when you take what isn't yours. She nodded, ashamed, and walked away. That moment sealed something important in Theo's heart. He realized revenge didn't mean destroying someone, it meant standing so firmly in truth that lies collapsed on their own. Months later, Theo received a promotion, not because he demanded it, but because he earned it. His manager trusted him, his team respected him. His work spoke louder than any argument ever could. One evening, as he packed up his desk, a junior employee stopped him. How did you stay calm when they stole your ideas? The young man asked. Theo smiled. Because anger gives power to the wrong people, he said. Preparation gives power back to you. He walked out of the office that day with his head held high, not as a victim, not as a man seeking revenge, but as someone who had learned the greatest lesson of all. True revenge is success with dignity. True victory is growth without bitterness. And truth, when patient, always finds its voice.